All right, let's talk about Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Um, just started this, and these are my thoughts on the first 100 pages. If this is your first time watching one of my summary read-along type videos, basically what I'm doing is I'm giving you a summary of what's going on, maybe some of my reactions as I'm reading the book. This is to allow you to, number one, maybe you're not very spoiler adverse, so you can find out if the book is for you, or when you read the book, you can come back here and watch these videos. Or if you want just a refresher on what happened during the story, you can watch these videos as well. I do this as a way to help my reading comprehension and also to help with my speaking ability and just my overall reading ability. Yeah. So let's start with what this book is about. The story seems to be about a young girl who's oppressed by her family, and she lives kind of in a backwater town in Mexico, but dreams of a better life. Her name is Cassiopeia. She lives with her grandfather, Cirillo, who provides for her and her mother after Cassiopeia's father died a few years ago. Her life is one of solitude and servitude, and she basically is bending to the wishes of her grandfather and also her cousin Martin. In this area of Mexico, it's on the Yucatan Peninsula. It's known as Yuxcamil, and they are all of Mayan heritage. This is in 1927, after a revolution that made the country more secularist. However, there are some Christian Cristero rebellions that pop up now and then. So, Cassiopeia is stuck at home for being rude to Martin while her family goes to a healing pond for their grandfather. While cleaning, she finds a key to a large chest that her grandfather really values, and she wants to know what's inside it, and so do I. So inside she finds bones, and she thought maybe there was like a hidden compartment underneath, so she's like looking underneath, and while she's doing that, a splinter of the bone nicks her thumb. When this happened, a death god appears, like all the bones come together and the muscles form and the fat forms, and Hun Kame is released. A part of Cassiopeia's family, her grandfather Cirillo, imprisoned this god in the box, and the god's brother Vakub Kame imprisoned him as well. He needs to get his left ear, his left eye, his left index finger, and a jade necklace back to become a whole god again, and basically take over his brother's position as the head death god. Cassiopeia and Hun are connected with this splinter in her thumb. The life force of hers is now going into him. If they don't find the body parts to put him back together, she will be drained of life. Their first stop for the first thing for information is to the city of Merida. So in chapter 3, we get a viewpoint of Martin. Martin is the cousin of Cassiopeia, and he is the only grandson of the family, and basically he thinks he's special because he's the grandson. He sees his cousin Cassiopeia with jealousy because she is very strong-willed, and he once overheard his grandfather say that he wished that she was a boy, basically saying that Martin wasn't good enough to carry on the family, but Cassiopeia as a boy would have been. So Martin at times attempts to be kind, but he just doesn't really think. He's just kind of so self-absorbed that he doesn't really think. And his insecurity usually gets the best of him. In chapter 4, Cassiopeia and Hun Kame visit a demon from France in Merida. His name is Lorey. Now, Lorey tells Hunkame that his missing ear is in Veracruz during the carnival, and that it is with a MAM lab, MAMLAB. So, Hunkame believes it's with the youngest mom lab. Lorey can't leave Merida, so in exchange for this information, he asks that when Hunkame becomes Lord of the Underworld, if he can walk in the underworld, which is called Zibalba, and that Lorey can go down there, thus basically leaving Merida because he's trapped there. Lorey tells Cassiopeia that if it ever comes down to it, that she can actually cut off her hand, and basically the connection between her and Hunkame is severed, literally. Also, the more Hunkame steals life from Cassiopeia, the more human he actually will become. So that's interesting. So I can definitely see in the future in this book he becoming more human and falling in love with her, just because. Chapter 5, we have a point of view of Vukub Kame, who is the brother, and he is down in Zibalba. Minus Hunkame, he has 10 brothers, each with a twin. His twin, Hunkame, was the eldest and ruled over them all until Vukabe used a human sorcerer to enchant an axe to take off the head of Hunkame, basically with the help of Cassiopeia's grandfather, Cirillo. Knowing something was wrong, he visited Cirillo to check the chest where his brother's bones were. Finding out that Hunkame is gone, he gets Martin, the grandson of Cirillo, to chase after his cousin and Hunkame. He gives Martin a ring that once he finds them can call Vukub Kame. Also, we get information that Vukub has a prison in Baja for Hunkame. So in chapter 6, the gods were formed, we learned, by the beliefs and worships of people. So basically, this is very much an American Gods-like story. If you ever read American Gods by Neil Gaiman. The gods around the Yucatan are able to be alive without a ton of people believing in them and sacrificing to them because of the asteroid that fell a long time ago, and basically the gods were created from the beliefs and the substance from that asteroid. Hunkame sees Cassiopeia as being a brave and a woman with fortitude, so you can already see that he admires her even though she is a lower being, a human. Cirillo talks to Martin in chapter 7 about how he baited Hunkame with prayers and blood to a trap that was sprung by Vukub Kame and the Zavala sorcerers. All that Cirillo has is because of what he did to Hunkame. So he has all this wealth because all that wealth was given to him by Vukub Kame for imprisoning Hunkame. So if Martin doesn't succeed, he's going to lose all his wealth. So he has a lot to lose in this. So he definitely wants to find his cousin and Hunkame. So in chapter 8, we get this amazing history and description of Veracruz. Silvia Moreno-Garcia just does a really great job so far in this book of getting us into the environment, into the culture, and giving us a background without being word dumpy. Like, the background of Veracruz is only a couple pages, but it's so good. So far, descriptions in this book just really conjure up the setting and really gets you sucked in. Cassiopeia is going to lure the youngest ma'am lab. That's a hard word to say. His name is Juan, and she is going to use her beauty, even though she is very reluctant to be used in this way. She's very much against using the way she looks. But with Hunkame's magic in her thumb, she's able to be even more alluring, I guess. So in chapter 9, the description of the carnival, the description of the history of the carnival, oh, it was stunning. I loved it. Cassiopeia finds Juan, and Juan attempts to seduce her. So she ends up tying his hands, and Hunkame shows up and says, hey, give me my ear. So he ends up using some like death magic on Juan, and ice is basically traveling up his body, so Juan ends up giving Hunkame his ear back. Yay, so now he can hear from both sides. That's very good. So Cassiopeia reminds herself that even though he looks like a man, that Hunkame is a death god. With his ear, he can now listen to the voices of the dead at the crossroads. And then in chapter 10, the rest of Hunkame's parts we find out are in Mexico City, El Paso, and Baja. So they need to find like a sorcerer to tell them like exactly where they are. So Hunkame and Cassiopeia share a moment together while on a train to Mexico City, where Hunkame laughs like really heartily. So from his reactions, basically he doesn't laugh a whole lot. So he's becoming more human, and I think he's starting to like Cassiopeia, and Cassiopeia already likes him. So that's up to about page 102, 100, up to chapter 10. I'm going to start chapter 11 maybe later tonight or tomorrow, but I'm really enjoying this quite a bit. Great world building, great scenes, and I've yet to read a Silvia Moreno-Garcia story that I haven't liked. So really enjoying this one so far. Let me know if you're starting to read this, if you're liking it, and just leave your reactions down in the comments. And thanks for watching.